Hey everyone, it's Y again, and the first update for MCC of the year just came out, and I want to cover the new features that it brings along with it. For starters, you'll see that the flood background has been replaced with a snowy landscape. And in my opinion, the single biggest item that this update brings along is the modern aiming settings. Now, if this feature sounds familiar, it's because I covered it in a previous video, which I'll leave a link in the description so you can watch it yourself. But to summarize it in case you haven't seen it, in that video, I compared both the classic aiming and the modern aiming side by side. But now that this update's out, everyone can try toggling between the two settings and deciding which one's right for them. To change these settings in the new update, you just pause, go to settings, under controller, scroll down to aim control, and you can flip between modern and classic. The way this setting works is that it helps smooth out the aim acceleration zones on your controller by using values that are more like Halo 2 Anniversary and Halo 4, instead of using the values that the older titles use. The other new feature that this update brings to the table is additional skulls for Halo Combat Evolved. This addition brings the total amount of skulls in Halo to 22. Let's take a look at all the new ones that were added in the update. Just keep in mind that some of these skulls are in the later Halos, but they are new to Combat Evolved. The first skull I want to take a look at is the That's Just Wrong skull. This skull heightens the awareness of the enemies. So here's an example without any skulls on. As you can see, I can easily hide behind the shade turret without being spotted. And just to make sure it isn't some kind of fluke, I went ahead and reset the checkpoint and hid behind the same turret again. As you can see, I still don't get spotted. That is, until I start shooting at them. Now let's see how that same scenario plays out with the skull on. And instantly I get spotted. So let me revert the checkpoint and try again. Now they definitely don't see me go back there, but they're still able to spot me. And then I want to test it just one more time. I get back behind the shade turret quickly, and I'm spotted. So with this skull on, you're not going to be very stealthy. And here's another example. First, with the skull off, I get on the bridge and all the enemies are sleeping, unaware of my presence. I can freely walk around without any trouble. Now with the skull on, they are wide awake and very aware of my presence. Again, stealth might not be an option with the skull turned on. Now let's take a look at the ghost skull, which prevents AI characters from flinching. As a reminder, without skulls on, here's how Elite reacts after being shot without a shield. You see him kind of hunch over in pain. But once the skull's been turned on, first he knocks his shield out, and you'll see he doesn't flinch at all. But he still does it angry emote. Now this next skull up is one of my personal favorites, and what it does is it decreases the mass of objects, allowing you to move them around more easily. Which means you can knock stuff around with grenades much more easily than you normally could. Which is always the recipe for a good time. Up next is the catch skull, which, when activated, has the AI throw more grenades more frequently. This is just one example of AIs getting into grenade fights. And here we have the Thunderstorm skull, which increases the rank of the enemy AI, making them harder to fight. In this part of the game, without any skulls on, you'll notice that most of the grunts are a minor rank, which is the yellow armor, which is a low, weak, easy to beat grunt. Now there's a few grunt majors, which are the red armored grunts, but there's not too many here. And those are a little more difficult to fight. Now here's the same exact level, same difficulty, except with the Thunderstorm skull on. You'll notice that all those yellow armored grunt miners have now been upgraded to grunt majors in the red armor. These rank upgrades also affect the elites as well. The second to last skull I want to take a look at is the Tough Luck skull. When this skull is activated, enemies are going to dive out of the way of grenades, and they also won't retreat. Normally, when Elite goes down, the rest of the grunts go retreating. But when you activate the skull and take out Elite, the grunts continue to fight. And for the final skull, we have the Anger Skull, which affects both enemy AI and friendly AI by having them both fire their weapons more frequently and faster. When you compare the fire rate of an enemy without the skull to an enemy with the skull on, you can easily tell how the skull would make the game a bit harder. And to give this video a proper send-off, I figured why not turn on all the skulls and see what happens. Unfortunately for this particular grunt, it does not go well. And that'll do it for this video. If you liked what you saw, consider hitting that like button, and if you want to see more of my videos, consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks, and have a good one.